Hello, it's the Monday before Thanksgiving, and I have a house full of guests, a house full of family. We're getting ready for the holiday. I have three beautiful children, am happily married for 33 years, and I raised two sons, beautiful sons, and a beautiful daughter. And anyway, so that's the backstory. The front story, which is also a backstory, is I did a video a couple days ago which had got 1,500 views on YouTube, and a lot of angry defensive men arguing with me and making fools out of themselves, but they thought they won every argument. But the post was about how men need women more than women need men. And the original post was done by a man. And so some men know this. Some men are smart and they figured this out and they know this. But the defensive, angry men came out of the woodwork arguing with me. And of course, if you just use logic, women create every human on earth. There is no humanity without women creating every single person, including these men that argue with me. So they were created by a woman. An ejaculation, a 10-second ejaculation, is not the same as creating a human for 9 months with your body, then birthing it and keeping it alive. Some men don't even know their fathers. They're so irresponsible. They just ejaculate. They don't care. They don't even know their fathers. So how stupid is that? And so there's no equivalent. So men are starting from a deficit because women do all that work to create humanity where men just have an orgasm, literally. So they're starting from a deficit in terms of work on the planet. So use logic, and men's brains are less logical than women's brains. They have less prefrontal gray matter, prefrontal cortex gray matter. And you can look this up. Men have more genetic abnormalities. Men have less problem solving, rational thinking, less emotional regulation than women. That's why they resort to violence. Their primal brain takes over. They want the chance. The primal man wanted a chance to impregnate a woman. So his primal brain took over because she's the one needed to do all the work to create life. So men, act from that primal brain and until they learn to override it, until they learn to think with sense and rationality. But none of the men that argue with me on here are using their higher mind because they lack logic, because they can't see that an ejaculation is not equivalent to creating life for 9 months. It's ridiculous. Use your brains, guys. And the other thing that they say, because they're so bent out of shape at women's superior genetic ability, which goes beyond creating life, women survive famine better, survive diseases better, have less genetic abnormalities, because we have to be strong, because the human race depends on us creating life. Men don't have to be as strong. They literally could die in a war, go off on a ship. Men were always disappearing while women did the work. And the majority, latest studies show, when they study hunter-gatherers, that the majority of food was provided by women. 60 to 80% of the food was provided by women, hunting and gathering. And that the women were actually the better hunters. This is the lie of the male provider, that women actually were the better hunters. Graves found with more animal bones and hunting implements is in the graves of women. And they're studying this. Look it up. Look up latest research, not research that the patriarchy said that men have got to be superior hunters, because you're starting from a deficit, guys, because women already create all life. So you got all bent out of shape and had to say that men were so supreme. But women because they said the women hunters went out with other women, with dogs, with different weapons, and had different strategies. See, women are better at multitasking and problem solving. They need to bring back food for their hungry children, and they know the men could fail because they just go out with one or two ways and in their mind, and every woman knows this. Every woman knows this. And the other ridiculous thing that these men were saying to me, these illogical men, illogical, defensive, stupid men were saying to me, was that if it wasn't for men, women would still be in caves. No, women already are better hunters. Women probably invented fire in pockets. Women had to keep their children alive, while the men didn't even know, they weren't tied to the children. They didn't even know whose children they were. We were matriarchal and goddess worship because the women had the babies and raised the babies together and did so much of the work. The men, again, they could do whatever, and they got angry and they created war with their primal brains, their primal angry male brains that wanted access to orgasms and women. They started invading other women, taking other women, invading other lands. Male violence. And, war, rape, genocide, sex trafficking, pornography, child pornography, corrupt governments, the old boy network where men support each other and enslave, make up laws, and corrupt religions that somehow put men in charge and take advantage of women and children and women's unpaid labor. So these men, they're so blind, they just can't see reality. And of course, women have always been inventors. Women were building huts, women were finding the food, fires, clearing rocks, clearing land, farmers. And they act like, working in a warehouse or driving a truck is something a woman can't do. Of course she can do that. But a man can't have a child. A man can't have a child. Get over it. You're starting from a deficit, guys. So it's just so crazy. Probably a woman, they're like, the internet. And, there were women scientists that invented computers. The technology to get to the moon was put together by women. Probably women put together the phones that, these men are going on about. But they wrongly say that men do all these inventions because they're angry that women have all the babies. They're coming from that deficit. And so anybody coming on here to argue with me, you lack logic. And my husband works in a big construction company. He's a vice president. He hires a lot of women as laborers, as project managers and estimators. Women used to get harassed, particularly in the labor position, harassed by the men because the men didn't want them getting into those cushy, high-paid jobs. So they would sexually harass them and not show them how to do jobs. And I know women this happened to. But the women are smart, see, they multitask, and they know how men are. Every woman knows how men are and uses her brain power to work around y'all. Because you get angry and violent and vindictive and defensive. But women do a better job than men most of the time. And my husband will say that. And you ask people about a woman doctor or a woman surgeon, who has better outcomes? A female doctor, a female surgeon, or a male doctor or a male surgeon? Look it up. Women are more conscientious, listen better, and try harder because we know how men are. So any of you all want to come on here and criticize this post, you are telling on yourselves right away that you are a man who lacks logic and is operating from a defensive, primal, male position of feelings of inadequacy towards women, and you got to puff yourselves up. But we're moving towards matriarchy, and this is the fall of patriarchy. Men have not done a good job leading the world, turns out. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.